A couple of days ago, I created a video where I went through all of the rising signs and how this Saturn transit through Pisces is going to be affecting us depending on our natal chart. And I've been reflecting on that video a lot because Saturn, as you may know, is a planet that brings a sense of responsibility to wherever it is in the chart or wherever it is by sign. And by moving into Pisces, it gives us this opportunity to uh, be more responsible with ourselves and with our own lives, and particularly in places where we may have skeletons in the closet or addictive tendencies or some aspect of ourselves that we haven't really wanted to look at. And Saturn gives us this opportunity to work with it and to perhaps even heal the traumas that we have that are associated with why we lean into that particular addiction, so to speak. And I study astrology, so I think that it's interesting that we all get this opportunity. And yet, I also, if you may or may not know, am certified in clinical nutrition and herbalism and aromatherapy. And so I had this epiphany today that perhaps I could offer people something that would help them through this transit, considering it's such a long transit. It's a 2.5 year transit. And many people don't realize that our nutrition and the food that we eat, as well as our lifestyle and our habits, affect what we are able to fight by way of our addiction. So if you feel like you're in a place of depletion, it can be really hard to give up something that you lean into. And there's a lot of different addictions that people can have, right? I mean, some of the most common ones that I think people consider when we say that word are perhaps alcohol addiction or drug addiction or nicotine, but addiction can also be to certain foods. And many times the foods that we have this like love relationship are foods that we have sensitivities to. And so I want to create this series where I explore the different ways that can support people as they are working with and perhaps, letting go of some of their addictions over the next 2.5 years. And so what I'm going to be doing is going to a couple of different resources. One of the resources that I'm going to be reading from today is this book that I've had for about 20 years, actually. It's called The Encyclopedia of Natural Healing. And I first started just studying it for my own wellness because I've been interested in wellness for more than 20 plus years. And but in my early 20s, which is right around the time when I got this book, I wanted to just look to the book to learn things for myself. And what it does is it offers, nutritional support and different things in regard to what can support different ailments and different conditions that people are working with and perhaps even suffering through. And so I got this big book just for self-research. And then when I started actually going into different schools to earn certifications, first and foremost in aromatherapy, I was supporting a lot of my treatments with the information that was in this book, because I think that, and I've always believed that there's no one remedy that's going to be the save all in any protocol. It ultimately comes down to our lifestyle choices and our nutrition. So I would offer that to my clients, like the nutritional support aspect that went along with perhaps, their skin condition or, their digestive ailment and things like that. So I've been leaning into this book for a long time. And, because I've been using it for about 20 or so years, there is likely, information in here that needs to be updated. And yet it is a really awesome book. And I guess the reason why I am called into this space of offering this series is a few years ago, right when the situation shifted in the world regarding, the respiratory illness that everyone was coming down with, and the world pretty much, or, our neighborhoods and everything that we knew as far as community kind of got locked down. I, like many people, started going to the liquor store more often than I did before. And the person that worked there boasted one day that their sales had gone up by 30%. And that's a large percentage. So I was like, wow, people are drinking that much more. And I've often thought about that, like, little fact that they gave me. And recently, I've had a lot of discussions with different people who are working with their own addictions and their own skeletons in the closet and their own habits and things that they have leaned into that they want to work with and they want to face and they want to actually confront. And I think part of that is because of this south node placement that we have in Scorpio, along with this north node placement in Taurus. And of course, we have Pluto over at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and we're about to have Mars over in Leo. So we're going to have this grand square that is helping to shift something that's very fixed in our nature. And then simultaneously, we have Saturn, who just shifted over into Pisces, which is at a sextile relationship to this north node placement. And so I think that we can use this time frame as a opportunity, because we're going to have the last eclipse in this opposition between Taurus and Scorpio in October, when the sun is going to be in Scorpio and then the moon will be full in Taurus. And so, this is a really powerful kind of jumping point for us to step toward this, I believe. And if we can have some honesty with ourselves and we can work with ourselves, then I think we're going to be in a much better place to, nutritionally support ourselves while we work with these things. Because while I was in school for nutrition, there was this baseline that we would often work with in our clients, in our protocols, which is that you always make sure that someone is nutritionally replete before you take away anything, or before you, start removing certain foods. And a lot of the times, a lot of the things that we may lean into or have addictive tendencies to ultimately end up depleting our systems even more. And so part of what I want to bring to the table in this series is different things that can support us as we are working through trying to confront and, ultimately, win over certain addictive tendencies that we have. And there are a lot of different allies that we can do that with. Of course, we can do that with, our meditations and our mindset and our support groups and our community groups. And we also need to support that in other holistic ways by what we're eating nutritionally, and possibly even herbs, and possibly even supplements and vitamins and minerals, and maybe even flower essences, and maybe even some aromatherapy and some different things that can support us on all sides. So what I'm going to be doing is today I'm going to go through just kind of an introduction to what we're going to be working with through this series. And then for the first part of the series, or I should say the second actual part of the series, we're going to focus on alcohol and how it's affecting our society and how it's shifted and become more it's become more of a growing problem over the last couple of years particularly, and how it affects our health overall, what different vitamins and minerals it depletes out of our system, why people tend to lean into alcohol and what can cause alcoholism, as well as, things that we can use to support ourselves as we also support ourselves in our communities to not have this addiction take so much control over our lives. So today I'm going to read to you a little bit from this book, the Encyclopedia of Natural Healing. And so what we're going to read here is just a small section, so bear with me, and I do hope that this is useful. If you feel like it's useful, or you feel like it would be useful to someone that you know, Of course, I would love it if you shared it because I've put a lot of time in my life into studying wellness and studying how to support people holistically through different ailments. And I see right now as I, integrate my astrology studies that this is a really powerful time for us to work with our addictions. And so I really want to support people in that way. So if you feel like this is going to support someone that you know, of course, I hope that you share it with them. If you feel like you think the whole series would be supportive to you or someone you know, of course, I encourage you to subscribe. And if you want to give me some feedback or tell me what's useful or what you think would be really helpful, or if there's a particular thing you would like some assistance with, then I encourage you to leave a comment because, of course, that will help me direct the ship as I move through this series. So, causes of addictions. Drug and alcohol addictions are caused by physical and/or physiological dependence. The physical addiction causes withdrawal symptoms, and the psychological addiction causes the intense cravings. Marijuana, cocaine, and LSD dependencies are physical addictions. Alcohol and cigarettes are highly addictive, both physically and psychologically. With habitual use of these substances, tolerance levels increase. More is required to reach the same effect, and yet the damage to the body does not lessen. Food addictions have gained tremendous attention in recent decades due to excessive eating, excessive dieting, and the idealization of the perfect figure, causing serious health problems in younger generations especially. These problems include asterisks, eating disorders such as yo-yo dieting, anorexia, and bulimia. Endorphins released by the brain are thought to be at least partly responsible for the psychological addictive anorexia. Endorphins are pleasure chemicals released when conditions become near unbearable to help the body cope. Obesity is also caused by addictive behaviors. Personality plays a role in addiction, although to what extent is unknown. Peer pressure, emotional instability, and feelings of inadequacy and unhappiness are often evident in addicts. Since teenagers experience many of these emotional hardships, they are particularly vulnerable to substance abuse and eating disorders. The social acceptance of medicinal drugs and alcohol encourages use and dependencies. Today, pharmaceutical drugs of all varieties are widely available to kill pain, induce sleep, and lift spirits. Advertisements promise easy solutions to complicated problems. Young women are praised for maintaining slim figures, even if it causes poor health. Their section on nutrition, and this is all in their addictions section. Body imbalances underlying most addictions are often caused or supported by an unhealthy diet. Poor nutritional habits, which can promote addictions, include excess salt and meat, too many refined or hydrogenated fats, or a surplus of processed foods with chemical additives. The body becomes addicted to a substance which temporarily corrects the imbalances caused by excesses such as these. Sometimes this addictive substance is itself a food. Food allergies are often addictions in disguise. Dietary adjustments can play a major role in overcoming an addiction. A healthy diet supports the body's elimination of toxins and gives the body the resources it needs to function free of its dependency. During the transition period, a short cleansing juice fast is certainly helpful in speeding the elimination of toxins. If the body has been depleted of nutrients as a result of the addiction, this cleanse should last only 3 days. A juice fast is better than a straight water fast because it supplies much needed nutrients in an easily absorbed form while simultaneously washing toxins away. Carrot, spinach, and beet juice are excellent liver and pancreas rebuilders. A diet which supports the process of weaning the body from its addiction will be rich in alkaline foods, such as fruits and vegetables, and low in acid-forming foods, which include meats, milk products, refined flour products, and sugar. Acid-forming foods make cravings and withdrawal more intense. An alkaline diet allows the detoxification process to proceed gradually, so that cravings are reduced and withdrawal symptoms are less severe. Drink at least 6 to 8 glasses of water a day to support detoxification. Extra fiber will also help pull toxins from the body. Raw vegetables, whole grains, and flax seeds will provide the fiber needed to bind toxins and keep the bowels moving. Add kelp and cereal grass to the diet for needed nutrients. Smokers who are quitting often tend to overeat. An alkaline, high-fiber diet is helpful in maintaining normal body weight. Former smokers may find temporary oral substitutes helpful. Vegetable sticks, apples, nuts, popcorn, sunflower seeds, and licorice root are possibilities. Eat porridge and muesli as they contain oats and help curb the desire for tobacco due to their sedative properties. Sugar is a food to which many North Americans are addicted. It often replaces other more nutritious food and weakens immunity. A diet rich in whole grains, complex carbohydrates, and vegetables can help stabilize blood sugar and minimize the desire for sugar. Alternative healthy snacks are rice cakes, fruit, nuts, and honey. Addiction to the caffeine contained in coffee or cola is very common in our society. Reduce caffeine intake gradually to minimize the throbbing headaches, which typically accompany withdrawal. Satisfying substitutes for coffee are roasted barley, dandelion, and chicory. Nutritional supplements. Malnutrition is often coupled with addiction problems and compounds the symptoms of cravings and withdrawal. Supplements can rectify these imbalances. Addicts often lack the B vitamins that are essential for calming the nerves, combating stress, and helping to control cravings. Vitamin C is an excellent supplement during withdrawal and combats the effects of toxins on the body. This vitamin also eases the symptoms of withdrawal, reducing anxiety and improving rest and appetite. Vitamin E has also proven beneficial in reducing the side effects experienced during withdrawal. Both vitamin C and E help the body to detoxify and are antioxidants which protect the body from free radical damage. Magnesium is particularly useful for treating addictions where irritability and cramps occur, since this mineral soothes cramps and calms the nervous system. Green food supplements are excellent in assisting recovery from drug and alcohol addictions. Chlorophyll and alfalfa detoxify the blood and provide numerous essential nutrients, including protein and many minerals. The essential fatty acids available in cold-pressed flaxseed oil and fish oils and the gamma-linolenic acid, GLA, in evening primrose oil are essential for the body and are needed as a balance, particularly for the nervous system. Bee pollen is also used in addictions as a nourishing food to provide body with energy and reduce cravings. I will say there are some people who have a high allergy to bee pollen. So before you start taking a lot of bee pollen, make sure you just try a couple little pieces of it to make sure you don't have an allergy to bee pollen itself. Because if you tend to have allergies or hay fever or, just high sensitivity to pollen, it's likely that bee pollen is not going to be your friend. Just to point that out. And of course, anytime you read anything in any herbal book, you have to take into consideration that there are exceptions to everything and that we all have unique systems. And, for instance, if someone is advised to use cayenne topically for some kind of musculoskeletal condition, but they have a sensitivity to nightshades, cayenne is also not going to be their friend. So we have to take each individual person as an individual and look at them individually before we look at what they need to support them, which is why it's so important that people go to a trained nutritionist and a trained herbalist and a trained aromatherapist rather than just necessarily going to a book, because someone who's actually trained in that field and particularly clinically is going to take more things in mind when they establish a protocol to support you the best with whatever you're working with, whether it's a acute condition, whether it's a chronic condition, whether it's an addiction, or whatever it is that you are looking for support with. I am a certified nutritionist and herbalist and aromatherapist, so if you would like that support from me, I'll put that information below. I'm in Colorado. I can see my clients through Zoom, but of course, if you want to work with someone local in your area, I suggest you do that as well, because it helps to have support in these places. And I am sharing this all in hopes that it is a starting point on your journey to let you know that there is more support than you just doing it all on your own. All right, I'm just going to read a little bit more and then I'll stop reading for now. Glutamine, an amino acid, is also known as nature's brain food. Supplementing with glutamine improves mental capacities, helps speed the healing of ulcers, alleviates fatigue and the craving for sugar. It also detoxifies ammonia in the brain and is very effective in the treatment of hypoglycemia. To provide additional support against free radical damage, the antioxidants vitamin A, selenium, and zinc are also recommended. They go on to recommend specific amounts for vitamin B and vitamin C, and all of that I think is really important for you to look at your diet and what you're already taking before you, of course, you start adding things. But it is important to consider that a lot of the addictions that people have do ultimately deplete nutrients from the system. And if you can look at your diet in a, in just in an observable way, and maybe even do a food diary and take account for what you actually are feeding yourself and where your nutrition is and where you might need support. Because just as part of the, situation, addictions tend to take our attention away from that which supports our body and gives us nutrition. So if we can show our body that we want to support it, it can take our attention away from wanting to lean so much into that one thing. So today, for the rest of just the little bit rest of the video, I wanted to just show a couple of different ways that you can add B vitamins into your diet. Of course, you can add just like a B vitamin complex powder. There are several different B vitamins. Rather than taking one individually, as a nutritionist, I always suggest that people would take the B complex because they support one another. And ultimately, you want to take the form that you're going to take rather than buying something that's just going to sit in your cabinet and expire because you never use it. There are a lot of different options for anything and everything supplement and vitamin wise that we want to take into our body. So it's just finding the thing that works for you. Some people are a-okay with taking pills, and you can get like a B complex pill formula. If you take a multivitamin, a lot of times they'll have a B complex as part of it. If you don't eat very well, I would suggest that you actually do take a multivitamin that's food-based, that does have a B complex within it as part of it. But again, you can just take a powder. You can also, even as this book suggests, you can also add a nutritional yeast to your food. This is something you would typically get at a natural food store. You can likely also order it online. What I do is I will sprinkle it onto my popcorn because it's kind of got a cheesy flavor to it. I'll also sprinkle it onto other foods because it doesn't have like an overwhelming flavor to it. It's not like goat cheese or anything that's super pungent, but it just has that flavor to it. And I actually am a dairy-free, gluten-free person, so I'll use nutritional flakes in recipes if I want to make something that's like a like a cauliflower chowder, like a creamy type soup that typically would have cheese in it, that I can't have cheese in it. So I'll use the nutritional flakes as a flavoring for that. But you can just put it on your greens, your steamed greens, put it on your popcorn, put it even in your, in your shakes or, your different smoothies, depending on what you have in there that you also have as a flavoring. But there are a lot of different ways that we can add these nutrients into our diet. If you're looking for a way to save some money on different nutritional supplements that you already buy, I have a account with Wellevate, and so I give everyone that's associated with me a pretty decent discount if they buy through them, because I feel like our health shouldn't be the most expensive thing that we do. And I think that we should be putting our energy and effort toward, buying healthy food and being able to share time with our loved ones. And we shouldn't have to break the bank to take care of ourselves. So I extend a pretty big discount to everyone that signs up under me, and I will leave that link below too. But anyway, if you're still with me, thank you for staying with me. I appreciate you joining in and supporting me in what I'm offering the world. I feel like this is an intense time and a big time of change and shifts, and we can either, fall into it or we can rise above it. And so I just want to bring and offer everything that I've gathered in my life by way of different studies and things that I've witnessed and observed in myself and learned from and grown from, and share them with people in hopes that it offers you something that can help you grow and manifest and evolve into your greatest self and support you in any way that I can. So I send a good wish to you, and I hope this is helpful and inspiring in some ways. Next week, we will talk primarily on alcohol and how it's affecting society, how it affects our body, and different ways that we can support ourselves nutritionally and herbally to navigate through overcoming that particular addiction. I send you all a lot of love, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now. Thanks for